the human growth hormone. Now, the human growth hormone is very active when we're growing. But when we stop growing, the human growth hormone goes into retirement. I stopped growing at 16, that probably doesn't surprise you. But my son William, he grew 2 inches from 19 to 22. He was very happy about that. He wondered if he'd ever grow. But when we stop growing, the human growth hormone goes into retirement.
Welcome everyone. In today's session, we're exploring some powerful natural tips for weight loss that go beyond just numbers on the scale. These strategies will help you improve your energy, reduce inflammation, and create long-term habits that truly transform your health. From nourishing foods to simple lifestyle changes, we'll focus on sustainable, balanced approaches that work. If you're ready to leave behind quick fixes and embrace real results, you're in the right place. Let's get started on this life-changing journey together. As a thank you for joining me today, we're giving away 100 free copies of my best-selling book to our subscribers. So if you haven't yet, hit subscribe, like this video, and comment why you want to win. Now let's get started.
We're going to look at it again in relation to weight. And it's the high carbohydrate diet that many people are eating today. I'm still mastering the art of saying one thing and writing another. So bread is very common. Cereal, there's a whole aisle devoted to cereal. And many people having bread and cereal for breakfast, by mid-morning they're wanting something else, so they reach for, and we're just going to say cakes, etc., because if we say everything, there's not enough room on the board for it. When you go into muffins and croissants and donuts and pasties and pies and pastries, etc., etc., etc. So we're just going to put etc. Also, pasta. I'm a 5th generation Australian Scottish descent. I didn't know what pasta and pizza was till I was about 18. So what did I grow up with? Sausages or chops, mashed potatoes, frozen peas or beans every single night of the week, except for Sunday when Mum would do a roast lamb. And everyone I knew ate like that. Our relatives ate like that, the neighbours ate like that. As a 5th generation Australian, I grew up in a little Presbyterian church. Everyone in the church ate like that. I came to the conclusion as a child that everyone in the whole world ate like that, but it's not quite true, is it? And when I was about 16, I had a boyfriend who was about 19, and he had a friend who was a vegetarian. I'd never heard of such a thing. Had never even heard of brown bread. So this was real traditional Australian. Rice, I'd never had rice. I don't think I went to a Chinese restaurant till I was about 18, and that's the first time I ate rice. Potatoes, well, we ate potatoes every meal. And last and certainly least in nutritive value is the pure crystallised acid extracted from the sugarcane plant. And as we have looked at this, we've also acknowledged that I don't think anyone chose to eat that way, it's just fast. When all of these things break down in the body, they break down to the singular structure of glucose. Our gastrointestinal tract is a hollow tube. And anything that goes into that hollow tube is not part of you or me until it gets broken down into tiny little particles, then it's absorbed into the blood, then it becomes part of you and me. The Bible says in Leviticus 17:11, the life of the flesh is in the blood, because it is the blood that carries the nutrients here to the CBD, the central business district of the human body, is the inside workings of the cell. In fact, one writer called the blood the river of life because of what it carries. And so it brings the glucose goes in under the action of insulin, goes through the 20-step pathway. I'm sure everyone's very familiar with the inside workings of the cell now. Yes? And that 20-step pathway gives us 2 units of energy. Isn't that why we eat? To get glucose, to run our energy cycles. The end result of the 20-step pathway is a chemical form of glucose called pyruvate. And pyruvate, as the chemical form of glucose, gets fed into what's called the powerhouse, because these 8 little chemical reactions, this 8-step pathway, delivers impressive 36 units of energy. And the reason why the 8-step pathway gives 36 units of energy is the presence of oxygen. So this is called the aerobic pathway, whereas this pathway is called the anaerobic pathway because it does not use oxygen. It produces energy by the process of fermentation. So when we eat the carbohydrates, they're broken down to glucose. The first place the glucose is sent is to the cell. The second place it is sent, because only so much can go through the energy cycles, then it is stored as glycogen. We looked at this morning and how that's particularly useful for the diabetic, having these little, well, it's useful for everyone because they're little molecules of glucose sitting in the muscle cell.
These little glycogen stores in the muscle cells are like mini energy banks, ready to be used when your body needs an extra boost, whether it's during exercise or managing your daily activities. Now here's the key. When you deplete these glycogen stores through movement or exercise, your body has to turn to stored fat for energy. This is why regular physical activity is crucial for weight loss. It encourages your body to burn fat instead of just relying on glucose. By pairing movement with balanced meals that prevent blood sugar spikes, you create a sustainable energy system and support long-term fat loss. Remember, weight loss isn't about deprivation, it's about balance, fueling your body and tapping into these natural processes.
When people go on a weight loss diet and stop all the fat, yeah? Fat-free this, fat-free that, fat-free, fat-free, fat-free. And yet what are they eating? Lots of carbohydrates. Do you know fat gives the feeling of satiation or satisfaction? And the best weight loss diet is a diet that stops your hunger. And fat stops the hunger. So what's happening on this high carbohydrate diet? People have eliminated the fat and they're eating lots and lots and lots of this, not realising that that excess glucose, once we've filled up the energy cycle, we've filled up the glycogen stores, and so now the body sends it to the fat cells. And on this high carbohydrate diet, what's happening to Americans and Australians? They're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. In fact, it's one of the most dangerous fats because what the body does is it stores it in the probably areas of the body that's not used a lot, maybe the arms, the belly, the hips, the thighs, and then when that gets all filled up, then it starts to go to the internal organs, weighing them down. And in the book Wheat Belly, notice the title of the book, Wheat Belly, Dr. William Davis, he shows that sugar particularly, sugar and the hybridised wheat, and the hybridised wheat is found in most breads, cakes, cereals, pastas, pizzas. Because it gets the blood sugar level up so high, so fast, as we looked at this morning, then very quickly it's dumped as a visceral fat on the belly. And in the book Wheat Belly, I think the word wheat belly he uses on just about every page, showing this process. And another fact, another very misunderstood fact, is that glucose burns at 4 calories per gram, whereas fat, it burns at 9 calories per gram. Now this piece of information, which is fact, is in just about every weight loss book as proof that if you want to lose weight, don't eat the fat. It's going to give you more than twice the calories. But what the people don't understand is what a calorie is. A calorie is a unit of energy. And if you want a high energy food, what do you eat? Fat. It's going to give you more than twice the units of energy compared to glucose. But if you're eating more calories than you can burn, yes, it's going to be stored. Your brain is the fattiest organ in the body. It must have fat. The myelin sheath that is around the arm that comes out of the nerve cell, it's mostly fat. If someone's on a fat-free diet, on cholesterol-lowering medication, because that fatty substance is mostly cholesterol and it protects the nerve cell. So if someone's on a fat-free diet, cholesterol-lowering medication, and got a mouthful of mercury and eating fish every day to try and get some more protein, but they're having huge amounts of mercury and big exposure to chemicals, well, that's disaster. There's your Parkinson's disease, there's your multiple sclerosis, there's your dementia and your Alzheimer's, because then the brain cells are getting damaged. So we need to be having nice amounts of fats. How much? Well, not much. It's a very concentrated food. Maybe a teaspoon a meal, maybe not even that. You don't need much. I don't know about you, but I couldn't drink a cup of oil. No, not attractive. But you would be surprised how much oil a person is consuming when they eat a whole meal of, say, fish and chips and scallops, all that fried food. They're almost consuming nearly, probably between half a cup and 3/4 of a cup of fat. And it's damaged fat. That's the fat that is dangerous. There's no doubt about that. But because there are dangerous fats, unfortunately, they've all been classified as dangerous, but they are not. And we need some. Our brain needs some. 50% of the membrane around every cell in the body is fat, except for the brain cell, 70% fat.
So as I was saying, fats are essential, not just for our brains, but for every single cell in our body. Did you know that 70% of the brain cell membrane is fat? It's the structure that protects the nerve cells, allowing proper communication and function. But here's the catch. Not all fats are created equal. While healthy fats, like those from avocados, nuts, seeds and olive oil, are essential, damaged fats, found in fried foods or over-processed oils, can wreak havoc on your body. Now, how does this tie into weight loss? When you consume healthy fats in moderation, they help regulate your hormones, curb cravings, and provide a steady source of energy. On the other hand, avoiding fats altogether can slow your metabolism and increase fat storage. Balance is key, and incorporating good fats is one of the most sustainable strategies for maintaining a healthy weight.
One of the best things that you can do for weight loss is to eat breakfast like a king. I have to admit that I think I eat lunch like a king and breakfast like a queen, but whatever. And sometimes the queen eats as much as the king. Lunch like a queen, and then tea like a pauper, or you call it supper, yeah? I think that when I say tea, you probably think I mean a cup of tea, yeah? But we call an evening meal tea. And as one lady said to me, well, what do paupers eat? I said, sometimes nothing. What many people are doing today, and I see it in many countries I go to, they eat breakfast like the pauper, they eat lunch like the pauper, and the tea or the supper is the king and the queen together. That's like going on a journey, and you start your long journey and you go to the gas station, we call it a petrol station, call it a gas station, and just put a little bit in. And then an hour later put a little bit more in, and then an hour later put a little bit more in, and then you've done this all day. And then you finally get to your destination, you go into the gas station and you fill your tank and then park it in the garage. How much sense does that make? And yet that's what most people are doing. Little bit here, little bit there, little bit there. End of the day, king and the queen together, and the body says, finally we've got some nourishment. And then they say, oh no, they've gone to bed. So what are we going to do with all these calories, these units of energy? We're just going to have to store them. It's really only probably the last 100 years that the main meal has been had at the end of the day. In fact, traditionally the main meal was always in the middle of the day, especially before electricity, because they didn't have the light at night and it was just more convenient. So number 2 for weight loss, low carbohydrate. Low carb, high fibre. Generous protein and healthy fats. I gave the story this morning when I talked about diabetes of Jim, the guy who was a type 1 diabetic and got off all his medication. And do you remember the weight loss he experienced? Quite phenomenal. And it wasn't just that he was eating breakfast like a king, lunch like a queen and tea like a pauper. It wasn't just that he was on a low carbohydrate, high fibre, generous protein and healthy fat diet. It was also the fact that he began to drink more water. He was having 8 to 10 glasses of water a day. And when you start drinking more water, it's also time to start having some whole salt.
When it comes to sustainable weight loss, low-carb diets are a game changer. As I mentioned with Jim, the type 1 diabetic who saw phenomenal results, the approach is simple: low carbohydrate, high fibre, generous protein and healthy fats. But there's more to this equation. Drinking 8 to 10 glasses of water daily makes a massive difference. Hydration boosts your metabolism, aids digestion, and helps your body flush out toxins. Now here's a tip many overlook. When increasing your water intake, you also need whole salt. Whole salt, rich in minerals, helps maintain the delicate balance of electrolytes in your body, ensuring hydration is effective. This combination, balanced nutrition, hydration and electrolytes, is foundational for weight loss and vitality. Fats are essential, not just for our brains, but for every single cell in our body. Did you know that 70% of the brain cell membrane is fat? It's the structure that protects the nerve cells, allowing proper communication and function. But here's the catch. Not all fats are created equal. While healthy fats, like those from avocados, nuts, seeds and olive oil, are essential, damaged fats, found in fried foods or over-processed oils, can wreak havoc on your body.
But it's the 4th point that I think made a dramatic effect. It all has an effect. And that was the high-intensity interval training. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you inside the cell and show you why the high-intensity interval training is so effective. So this is intervals of high intensity, intervals of recovery, and it's done for a cycle. And Doug McGuff, the heart doctor, he suggests 30 seconds high intensity, 90 seconds recovery for a cycle of 6. There's 15 minutes a day. Sorry, but no excuse. If you haven't got 15 minutes, start to write down how long you're on the computer, how long are you on the phone, how long are you on your iPad, how long do you spend watching television. And you will quickly see time to do some adjustments with your time. What I want to show you is what happens inside the cell when you do the high intensity interval training. Now before I go there, just let me define high intensity. It's anything that gets the heart rate up and the breathing. So Michael and I, we run up hills every day and our recovery is walking down hills and we run up the other hill. When I was in Germany 2 weeks ago, where I was staying was in a little village and the house I stayed with was right up on the side of a hill. So anywhere I went, when I went back home, I had some high intensity. And I found a path through the forest. And I found this path by accident because when I was going on my usual road, I passed a man with a dog. and it was on a big rope, and this dog was jumping, trying to get at me, barking ferociously. I was terrifying. And I thought, I got to find somewhere else to walk. I don't want to pass that dog again. And then I found this bush track. They call it a forest track. And in this forest track, I got 5 high intensities, and I wasn't even running. It was just walking. And it was a track that was made for a tractor, so it wasn't for a car, because I don't even know if a car would have got up those steep ones. So I was very happy with my track that I found, and the nasty dog didn't go on that track because it was bush. It was a track you could walk. So sometimes you don't even need to run. All I need to do was walk, and walk fast up these really steep bits. Most of the research has been done on an exercise bike, where the person, if they're unstable on their feet, they're holding on. It's very good if they've got hip or knee or ankle problems, then the weight is not on those areas. And you can cycle as fast as possible, and then your recovery time can just be slow cycle. It could be swimming, doing laps of the pools. It could be push-ups. I mentioned when my boys visited last April at Easter holidays, they were doing 1,000 push-ups a day. They do it 20 at a time, 20 at a time. So they were certainly doing that interval all through the day. And they got out on my back veranda and were doing the pull-ups. The recovery time is really just till you feel it's time to run again, or it's time to go fast again. It doesn't have to be 90 seconds, but that's what you're aiming for. Your recovery time is an indication of your fitness. The longer you take to recover, it's usually an indicator that the more unfit you are. And if you take a long time to recover, don't worry about it. This is progressive. That's what Al Sear's book says, progressive acceleration of cardiopulmonary exertion, pace. So as you get stronger, as your body gets fitter, you'll be able to do less recovery time.
High intensity interval training is an incredible tool for weight loss, and it's not as time consuming as many believe. Just 15 minutes a day, alternating 30 seconds of intense activity with 90 seconds of recovery can produce remarkable results. The beauty of HEAT is its flexibility. It can be tailored to suit your environment, fitness level, and even preferences. Whether it's running up hills, cycling, swimming, or even fast-paced walking, the key is to get your heart rate up during the intense phase. What's fascinating is how HEAT works inside your body. The high-intensity phase forces your cells to work harder, burning glucose and fat stores efficiently. As your fitness improves, you'll find your recovery times shorten, a great indicator of progress. Remember, this is a gradual journey, so listen to your body as you build strength and endurance.
The human growth hormone. Now, the human growth hormone is very active when we're growing. But when we stop growing, the human growth hormone goes into retirement. I stopped growing at 16, that probably doesn't surprise you. But my son William, he grew 2 inches from 19 to 22. He was very happy about that. He wondered if he'd ever grow. But when we stop growing, the human growth hormone goes into retirement. But when we're doing the high intensity exercise and the body sees that we need some more fuel, it causes a release of the human growth hormone, which stimulates a release of hormone-sensitive lipase. So what's hormone-sensitive lipase? Lipase is an enzyme that breaks down fat. And underneath the tongue, there's the lingual, sublingual glands release lingual lipase. That breaks down saturated fat. Our bile releases, our liver releases bile, it breaks down fat. And the pancreas releases pancreatic lipase, breaks down the polyunsaturated fats. So lipase is your fat splitting enzyme. So why does the human growth hormone release hormone-sensitive lipase? To release the fat stores. The human growth hormone also stops the body from burning glucose as fuel and become a fat burner. We know why it becomes a fat burner, because remember what fat's going to do? It's going to give more than twice the units of energy compared to glucose. And we're running for our life. This is a crisis. The human growth hormone also increases the body's ability to utilise protein. This week we've looked at the importance of eating sufficient protein. I find that people that are on this high carbohydrate diet, they're often protein deficient. Protein's an essential nutrient. We've looked at the importance of eating sufficient protein. We looked at the importance of not drinking with your meals, because that waters down the enzymes that break down your protein. Now we're looking at another part, and that is when you implement the high intensity interval training, causing a release of the human growth hormone, it increases the body's ability to utilise the protein. There's more. The human growth hormone increases the circulation of the blood to the skin. Did you know that the movie stars pay $1,000 a week for this? Because their profession is dependent on them looking good. Circulation of the blood to the skin, that slows down the wrinkles, slows down ageing. Well, I'm offering it to you cut price today. 15 minutes of high-intensity interval training a day will cause a release of the human growth hormone, which will remain active for 24 hours. And so number 4 is exercise. Exercise causes a dramatic weight loss. And yet the beauty of implementing this is that as you lose weight, you don't get the saggy, baggy elephant effect. And John Gabriel, he wrote a book called The Gabriel Method, and he went from, I have to give it to you in kilos, he was 183 kilos, well, that would be probably nearly 400 pounds, and he lost, I think it was 100 kilos, so what's that, 200 pounds? He's now 220. He's now 83 kilos. And he's got a picture of him in his school. Four photos. One where he's obese, another where he's a bit slimmer, another where he's a bit slimmer again. He did this in his 40s. And the last photo is muscular. And you can count his abdominal muscles, you know, the six-pack. And when you look, there's no hanging skin. What did he do? He did the high-intensity interval training, and he implemented this, and he implemented this. There's one other factor, and this was the mind. And he said that he used to picture his new body. Sorry, but you can't lay back on the couch eating a high-carbohydrate diet and picture your new body. But it's part of it. It's having faith. Remember, God's way is built on faith and believing that you can recover. Number 6, hormones. On Friday night, I'm going to talk about hormones and the contraceptive pill, exposure to plastics, exposure to environmental poisons causes a rise in a hormone called estrogen. And estrogen is a cell proliferator. Cell proliferator means causes massive cell growth. And when a person's hormones are out of balance, it's almost impossible to lose weight. So balancing the hormones is another aspect. For some people, this is an important part. For some people, it's a major part. For some people, it's a minor part. For some people, it's not a part. So on Friday night, I'll be going through some of the symptoms of a hormonal imbalance, and I'll also be showing you how to restore the balance of the hormones.
Thank you for joining me today as we explored these powerful natural weight loss strategies. Remember, sustainable weight loss isn't about deprivation. It's about nourishing your body with the right foods, staying active with methods like interval training, and maintaining balance in all areas of life. Small, consistent changes can lead to incredible results over time, and your health will thank you for it. If you found value in this session, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with others who could benefit, and subscribe to stay updated on more practical health tips